Good job, Joe. It's nice to finally meet you. And what else did you have done before you went to a mental institution?
Yo, Dom, hey, Dom, hey. Yo, Dom.
Yo, how you doing?
Oh, wow. It's cool. It's cool having him, man.
Dom almost gave us the hook.
Whew. Oh, man. I didn't want to lose Brian T. Licata. Fuck. We were going to lose. Dom. All right.
See that, Dom? Brought a lot of energy. There you go.
I got energy. I'm ready to go. I'm a big fan, and Dom's met me, and he thinks he hasn't met me. So those are always those are good podcasts when you've met guys and they don't remember meeting you. I love those.
What guys?
We've met.
All right, let's start the beginning again.
You want me to start it off?
This didn't. This wasn't recorded. This wasn't the podcast?
This was recorded. This is.
I mean, sometimes we rev up the engine. Tonight, Dom wants me to do an intro. Tonight, we have our guest, Joe Matarese. Comedy special just came out, Mullets and Mixtapes. And he's currently on the 93.7% Italian tour. How'd I do, Dom?
Let's give him a tour, guys. That was Tiffany. Wow, how do you keep up with yourself? Now, let me ask you this. Were you always funny? Maybe this. Did your mother and father get along? No, forget about that. Suppose you got more stuff. I mean, that is funny stuff. It's the organization of now, but you know,
multiple times.
So you're trying to say that I don't like give you attention to guys I respect. I don't get it, man.
No.
Check. Get the check, please. I do like mime stuff too. I do miming, talking.
Joe, where did you say you met Dom? Caroline's?
We've actually done it. We're on a gig together when The Sopranos was on, and they started trying to do Italian comedy shows like everywhere, because like being Italian was like freaking huge when The Sopranos were on.
Yeah, God bless those guys, huh?
Yeah. And Dom was the host of a show at something called the Comedy Garden, which was this big club that was below Madison Square Garden. It was like a 400.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and Dom was the host. I did a spot. Vic DiBitetto was on the show before Vic DiBitetto kind of blew up on YouTube, and the guy who played Bobby Baklava on The Sopranos was on the show too. And
he did stand up.
I guess he did a little bit, or he just kind of came out. Maybe I don't remember. Dom, do you remember? You might have just like did a little bit with him or something.
Nah. Move on.
No bit with him.
All I know is I bombed really bad, and
it was ridiculous the way they had it. It's staged. It's not staged. You know what I mean? It was like
killed. They loved you. You had.
Oh, well, let me change my tune then. We're going to say something good about me.
They loved everybody but me. We loved Dom. Like my dad. Like. Dom, I don't know if you realize this. Like, I'm 56. My dad's 81. My brother's 9 years younger. Like, I always feel like there's certain comedians. Steve, I don't know if you have any. You're like raised on them. And like Dom was one of those guys. If you were Italian and from Philly and South Jersey, like me, like Dom was the guy whenever he was on TV. Everyone in the family would be like, Dom's on. And it would be like everyone would come into the fucking TV room and watch him, you know, on the Tonight Show or on the HBO Rodney Dangerfield special. Dom's on.
Yeah, Dom's the reason I'm a comedian. I tell him all the time, and he apologizes to people. That's what he says.
Who?
You. When I tell you that, I say it to you. You don't handle compliments too well, so I try not to bring it up.
Because I hate me.
No comedians handle compliments well. It's like part of being a comedian. When people say good stuff, it makes you feel weird.
Dom has a classic story about the Tonight Show before he walked out. Remember that one, Dom?
No.
Before you walked out, the guy told you don't be nervous.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
You're gonna kill them.
That's a good too. So you've been practicing them.
Huh?
You practice in your room in front of the mirror. You get these joys. Seriously, Steve, you've improved a lot.
On my podcast skills or my stand-up?
I never really understood your stand-up. I mean, is that supposed to be funny? I don't get it.
Well, you haven't seen me in a year, so.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll be better if it's 2 years. Huh?
There you go. Maybe 3.
Do you believe that this guy would anything makes him laugh? He's a fucking idiot.
Let's see if Dom remembers this story.
Yes, I remember it.
No, you remember that one, but then there's another time we meet where I guarantee you probably don't remember this, but maybe when I bring it up and tell you it, you'll go, "Oh my God, that was you." You were performing at Caroline's in New York City. Killing. And it was the Sunday night of the gig, and I could tell you had been there like Friday, Saturday, and it was packed and sold out. And now you're there on Sunday, and it's like there's a smaller crowd because it's Sunday night, right? And as comedians, Steve and Brian, are you a comic too? I'm guessing
no,
you're not.
No, I just produced the show.
Yep. Okay. Well, Caroline's, along the wall of the club, there were just all single seats. And that's where the comedians would sit if there was somebody, that we wanted to watch, And Dom was somebody I wanted to watch. I think I knew the comedian who was doing the opening spot. So I came down, I sat in that against the wall, and I'm like all excited. I'm like, I'm going to see Dom live. I think it's the first time I'm ever going to see him live do stand up. And then he's like halfway through his set, and all of a sudden he singles me out. Right? I don't know if you guys have ever had this, where a comedian starts doing crowd work on you, like you're a regular person, but you're like, fuck, I'm a comedian now. I'm in this guy's act now. This is so weird, right? Because it's never us. And he just, Dom, you stopped in the middle of your set and you go, hey, you against the wall, are you a comedian? And I'm like, yeah. And you go, it feels like you're lurking at me. Like you're judging all my jokes and you're gonna rewrite them and do them at your show and go, oh, here's my version of that one.
Well, it's great to see you anyway. I remember every detail that you got on that thing. Seriously, you did the thing. Like you make it sure you turn real sideways quick, and then you get where was I? Remember that?
And then the best part of the story is, Dom, you go, hey, can you move? And I was like, what? And you go, can you move your seat? It's bothering me that you're sitting there. I don't like it. You did. You made me.
Sorry.
You made me move. And I had such respect for you that I actually got up and fucking moved. I was like,
Dom, what a bully, Dom. Come on. What is it?
I'm a bully. You're a bully.
What is it with you, Dom? Come on.
Oh, here he goes.
And and then years later, I became the comedian who's been, on the road.
You do comedy?
Yeah, I do stand up.
Wow. What am I going to do with a little
This
thing?
is going to do wonders for my comedy special that I'm going to plug on this podcast.
You ever do things about like the difference between New York and LA? Because
I've talked about that quite a few.
Well, I mean, it's amazing when you think all these cars in LA. They still have cars like that in New York, but there's also buildings. If you look at that, you go, "Fucking wow!" It writes itself. Anybody out there?
I heard you.
Well, thanks.
It's Pickle and Steve night.
Mm-hmm. Oh, everything's a bit. You're lucky we talked to you.
See that? Now, was that nice?
No, and I'm sorry.
Come on, I love you, Dom.
I know. I said I'm sorry. It's been a rough day. What about me? What about me having something laugh? No, it's not. Never.
No, you can have fun too, Dom. We're sorry. Yeah, you can have
No,
fun.
I can't have fun. I can't get around from anywhere. You know, I got my back burn, other parts of my body are ticklish. I hate that. You know, it's good to just have some protein and some fat. You know.
Did you guys do spots this weekend?
You don't read the trades?
No.
Oh
I haven't been keeping up with them.
can't read. Yeah.
I got.
Joe, did you work this weekend, Joe?
No, I was off this weekend. Sadly, I was off.
Well, that's nice.
But my special came out, so it felt like I wasn't off because I had to it did like a premiere thing on YouTube where you try to get a shitload of people to watch it at an exact time. So it felt like I worked because I was watching myself do the special as if I was on stage right then. That's what it felt like. Because
they give you money for this.
You can get when you premiere it on YouTube, you can they can actually start tipping you money and stuff like that if they feel like it. And
what do you care about money?
Is this the first time you did it on YouTube?
Yeah, it is. My first two specials are on YouTube now, but they didn't start out there. It's like they were somewhere else that they got paid. I got paid for, and then so this was the first time I had to just give everybody a special for free. You know, it's kind of weird. You know, and not only that, it cost me money, so it's hilarious. You're like,
honey, can I get some money? I'm gonna go watch me tonight. That is so fucking sad.
Isn't it sad? And like,
well, the payment thing is definitely sad.
Yeah, I mean, but to be honest, I mean, and I've said this on a few other podcasts. Somebody else who was representing me at the time when we filmed it, he paid for the special, which is even worse because it was his money. But then I'm so anal that when it got finished, I didn't like the way it came out, and I paid more money on my own to fix it and make it better.
Well, that's really special.
Yeah, I'm kind of a pain in the ass, but usually I'm correct at the end. You know how when you're a comedian, you know when something doesn't look or sound right. You know, everybody else will be like, "It's great, it's great." And you're like, "No, it's not. It's not. It doesn't." You know, I did 2 shows in one night, and I knew there were sections of the second show that were better than the first show. And a normal comedian picks the best bits and mixes it together. And for some reason, the guy who produced it, not the guy who paid for it, the guy who kind of was the director and the guy whose company shot it, he did not want to mix 2 shows together. And I had never heard of that before. I was like, dude, I've done 3 of these things. Everybody mixes shows. That's why I'm wearing the same clothes twice. Why am I doing a second show? Why would I perform a second time if I can't use it?
Or having paid to shoot 2 sets.
Yeah, he's getting. And once again, I learned a lesson. Any young comedians out there, that would be my advice to you. I don't care if you got to only spend $500 and that's all you have. Spend your own money, because then you have a say. But if you're letting somebody else fund the project, you're fucked. You can't change anything. It's just you're stuck.
Dom, when your comedy specials, you had no creative say when you take.
Yeah, all creative say.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm gonna get to tell them what about me. Fuck you, not you, him.
But did you ever do a special where it was more like a movie where you got funding and then you kind of made your own production? Like you more did it like for HBO or these big entities. Now with comedians making their own specials and putting them right on YouTube for free to the fans.
Yeah, it's a
you
different
never
time.
did that. Yeah.
No, I was lucky. You know, I was lucky that I was a brilliant fucking comedian.
A humble comedian, the most humble comedian.
I hate that about me. I hate
and he's a good dancer too.
A good dancer. All Philly, Philly guys are good dancers.
I can
he could do the mummer strut, Joe.
Can he do
That's
it?
not dancing.
Like Joe was saying, the Rodney special. Did you see it when everybody else seen it, or you had a chance to say, "Oh, I like the way it's shot," or change this? You didn't have that.
No, I just
you filmed it, and that was it, right?
That was it. Yeah.
Was there any editing in that, or was that the exact set, or did they pull certain bits out and like have to shorten it?
No, there was nothing. I don't think anything was. First of all, it was the first time people really got down, and he jugged in her face, and people were really dirty.
Yeah,
Robert
yeah.
Kimmel,
They had like women with their shirts off in that too, right? In that special. I feel like I remember like a topless waitress or something like that on the HBO cut of that.
You might be right. The funny thing is those were the real waiters that really worked at Dangerfield. So
really?
On camera. Yeah. This guy Chario, who just passed away, literally worked at I'm not lying. That guy was a waiter at Dangerfield's for maybe 45 years.
Wow.
And he was in those original specials. You see him. He had like lines. Like Rodney gave dialogue to the waiters.
Yeah, there was like little interstitials in between the comedians that they would have like stuff that would go back and forth.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I guess that's probably where they ended up making the cuts in between the comedians when they were getting everything set for the edit.
Was that show, Dom? I don't remember. Was it taped and then aired on HBO, or was that live?
I didn't know anybody that did that. I mean, they might have done it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was taped.
It was taped and then it aired on HBO. It wasn't live, right?
Yeah, it wasn't live.
What did that show? Did that show help the club? Because
it helped everybody.
Everybody I talked to about that comedy club, they never. I hate to say it, they never like say it was glamorous.
I never played there until the HBO special. So that's how little we cared about that club,
You said Rodney wasn't really around at that point, right? He was in LA or something like that.
Well, he was back and forth. He was shooting a lot of movies then. He was a great fucking guy. Really funny and nice. He loved my generation, and he hated the generation before him because they weren't nice to him before he made it.
I have this observation, Dom, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. I've said this on other podcasts too. I feel that Dom or Rodney Dangerfield is the only comedian to ever do something where he was helping out younger comedians where they were actually really good young comedians. You see these other comedians, they're like, oh, it's all this guy's best friends, and they put it on Netflix and they all suck. And you're like, you're sitting here going, there's no way these are who Bill Burr thinks are his funniest friends. Who the fuck are these people? They're not his funniest friends. He's got funnier friends than this. It's who the network wanted him to have on it or something like that. Like when Dom was on that show with Rodney, every one of those comedians became huge, almost every one of them, because they really were who Rodney thought were great. And I always go, why don't comedians help comedians that they think are good out anymore? You never see that happen anymore. They're all too insecure to help people that are good. They always have semi-shitty guys opening for them on the road. You see that all the time. You never see guys putting big heavy hitters in front of them. They don't. And it's like, why are comedians so insecure that they get hugely famous and they literally they won't even fucking text you back when you ask them to retweet something, you know what I mean? They won't help you. It's unbelievable. Why was Rodney the only one to ever help the young, funny generation in a real way?
Because he was so full of hate the way they treated him that he wanted to get back, and he did. He went to number one.
And he had a great eye. I mean, Bill Hicks, Sam Kennison.
Bill Hicks, that's who I love. The guy. He was one of my favorites.
Oh, he was amazing. And Sam Kennison and all these guys.
Dom, did you guys
Andrew Dice Clay?
Dom, did you guys all know each other when you showcased that night? Or a lot of those guys you've seen for first time?
I only saw a couple of guys before me because we were running late. We were supposed to do 10 minutes or something like that. I mean, both of them, Barry Sobel and Dean Wayans. What's his name?
Damon Wayans. This is for your audition for the Dangerfield special.
Audition. All I did was lay into them because I was so mad at it. And I get up to the stage and he goes, you know, hey kid, you're funny, but what you do is attack the other guys. I can't fucking book that. I said, he said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you another shot. Come back to the Improv on Tuesday. And he gave me a shot, and that's how I got the thing. But the first he saw, I was just mad. I didn't give a fuck about anything. You know?
Yeah. Was that in Los Angeles or New York?
Yeah, that was at the Comedy Store. I said to Damon, I said, what do you think was going to happen tonight? That all of a sudden, after 25 minutes, you're going to get funny? It ain't happening. Just let me fucking do my little bullshit thing.
Who was that? Damon Wayans?
Yeah, I mean, him and I are very, very close. We did a couple of series together, and he always looks out for me. But you know, the guy's to double the time you're supposed to do. That's really fucking low life to do that to somebody.
Oh, I had one of those once when I did a television show. I had a guy do that once. My flight got delayed, so I was stuck on a runway for 6 hours flying to Chicago to tape this show for like TBS, where they were doing all these comedians. You know, one of those where everybody's doing like an 8-minute set, and they taped like 10 episodes of the show in 2 days. And my flight got delayed. I'm stuck on a runway for 6 hours. And I always say, like, nowadays, one of the positives of COVID now and all the shit that went down with COVID is if something is important, they'll fly you the day before now. Like, they used to just fly you the day of. And, like, if something happened, you were fucked and you just missed it. And I'm on the runway for 6 hours. They go, well, we're going to bump you off of the 8 o'clock show that you were supposed to do your set on for the TV show. And we'll put you on the 10 o'clock show, right? Everything got all fucked up. I swear to God. And I remember the night before that, my son was like 2 at the time. He had to go to the emergency room. He was fine, but I was on 0 sleep thinking I'm going to sleep when I land. And now I don't land until showtime. I'm supposed to go on at 11. I end up going on at 1 o'clock in the morning. And the comedian before me, I don't remember I wish I could remember his name. He did a 25-minute set at 1 in the morning. And the crowd was just done when he was done. And my mental state was, you know me, Steve, because you worked with me once. I'm like ADD out the ass. So Adderall didn't even exist back then. My brain is fucking on 0. I get introduced. I walk on. I can't remember even my first joke because it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, and I just bomb. I get a 0, and there's 8. All the big agents are there, you know, and fucking they go, we can't even air it. You'll still get paid, but we can't. They couldn't even air it on the television. It was just a 0. All because it did not help that this guy went up there. I wanted to kill him. Remember, it was a small club in front of 50 people, and this guy wanted to have a lav mic, right? I was like, and it took forever to set it all up. I'm like, why do you need a lav mic? Everybody else is holding a microphone. You got a lav in front of 50 people in this tiny little comedy club.
When did this happen?
Oh my God, this is probably at least 20 years ago. Like how you were. That's why you got the Rodney special. Rodney thought you were funny, even though you were a bridge burner. Yeah. And then you came back and did your set and got it. And you know,
let me tell you how it happened though. With Craig Shoemaker, I hated him for a long time. Him and Bobby Collins.
Oh yeah, I don't like Bobby Collins either. You and I,
funniest motherfucker.
People, all right.
All right. So
the whitest teeth I've ever seen.
Hey, I hope he doesn't hear it.
A lot of hate.
See, Cher would put me on the label or whatever it's called.
Right, like the marquee, right?
Yeah.
She would have you build on the show so people.
Yeah, because that way nobody people. Yeah. But at one time I lost it. There was this girl. She kept going, Cher. And I stopped the thing, and I go, listen, you fucking idiot. She ain't even here. She's just putting his first eyelash on. She's not going to say, so why don't you just get out of here? Come back when she's on. And people got so mad at me that they came to see me in Cleveland the next week, but they were sold out, so the people couldn't even like heckle me.
Was her fan base tough?
No, they were great. They were either like transvestites or little kids. It was a very easy, very nice crowd, But she has so much and she's such an incredible, accomplishments, Oscars,
right. Everything. Yeah.
I saw they did her life story on Broadway.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I went and saw it, and it was excellent. I thought it was going to be terrible, but you forget how funny Cher is. She's funny. So like when they redid a lot of those like talk shows where her and Sonny Bono, remember when they had their own talk show together, how funny they were? Like,
oh yeah,
there was some. She was funny, man. I like Cher. That's good to know that she's cool and she's nice.
When we played the arenas, we didn't deal with each other. But when we went with the other places, the casinos and all, that's when you really had the fun.
Right.
Why don't these musicians have comedians tour with them anymore? It's something that you don't see anymore. And I've even tried to do comedy with music, and it's like weird. It doesn't work. Like, why did it used to? The old improvs in New York, right? Then they have piano and singers, then a comedian.
Oh, yeah.
Why doesn't that work anymore?
Joan
Jett?
Yeah, Joan Jett.
Joan Jett, yeah.
There was 4,000 people. My first time in front of a big crowd, and half of them were really listening, and the other half fucking hated me. And this is how crazy the gig was. It was like I got $200. I got off the stage as soon as they threw something at me, like nothing but hurt. I just
like
didn't
a
like
beer.
I get off the stage. He goes, "Great job, man." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, I said, I made like a minute. He goes, "That was great. Nobody ever stays on that long." I said, "Why do you even have a guy?" And he said, "I don't know. We're still tuning the guitars out and all that shit. It helps."
It helps.
Yeah.
Did you get to do it again with her? Was it
well, I did one song with her, but she didn't know it was me. She was like kind of. She could leer herself, look at herself, and see, without even looking at the other guy. So we're on one near each, and we're singing, but I ain't really singing. So the guy who was the real singer, it wasn't even noticeable. That was the only time I was ever on stage with her.
Huh?
But she was funny. I mean, I come back for the gig at Mirage, and she said, "I can't believe that you talked about jizzing over a hedge. My grandmother's here." And I said, "You should also believe that your grandfather's here, and he could see your face, he could see your tits, your asshole." So she goes, "You're right, all right." Yeah. What are you going to say? You show your grandfather your tits, all the bets are off.
That's true. That's true.
Dom, when you were on movie sets and like backstage with all these celebrities, did you ever try to like hook up with any of these famous actresses or anything?
No, not really. I mean, I always like the young, somebody vulnerable for like thinking I'm a big deal. Because I ain't gonna get it just on looks like like Stevie would.
You got to kind of trick them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't believe in I would only give her like Xanax or something. Just I don't want to.
You were good friend. You were good friends with Cosby too, right? Didn't you guys work together?
Oh God, yeah, right.
Did you know him, Dom?
Very little,
Yeah.
Was he approachable?
No.
Yeah.
He had his little hobby going. He wasn't worried about us. I mean, I was on the Star Search.
Jeez, he was a hobby.
I was on a Star Search. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I have a crazy Cosby story, but I don't want to.
I got to hear this.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt though.
I don't want to know. What's
it actually, it makes Cosby sound like a good guy. That's what's weird. Because
he was.
I'll tell it fast, but I went to see Cosby live. Obviously, this is before any of that shit goes down. At the Apollo in New York City. My dad and I, my dad loves comedy. He still does. My dad's 81 and loved Cosby. My cousin came with us too. And my cousin knew a woman who worked for Cosby. So she got us backstage passes.
Nice.
So we see the show. He kills. It was like amazing. It was the day Richard Pryor died. I remember it. There was the chair that Cosby would sit in for his whole set had the lifespan of Richard Pryor sitting on the chair, whatever year he was born and passed away. I can't remember how long ago this was, or I'd tell you the exact date. So Cosby, we're in this, meet and greet after the show line, and he's just autographing pictures and shit and like trying to move people, you could tell he kind of didn't want to be there. And then he gets up to us and my cousin starts asking him questions, right? Because my cousin is a motivational speaker for a living, and he was dabbling in stand-up, and he still does dabble in stand-up. So Cosby just stops mid thing and he goes, "You guys seem to have some questions for me. Hold on a second while I get rid of all these other people, and I'll come back and I'll let you ask me some questions." And we're like, holy shit, right? So he gets rid of everybody. He goes to a stagehand and he goes, "Can I get 4 chairs on the stage? The Apollo." Put him in a semicircle, and we're all sitting in a circle, and he goes, "Go ahead, ask me anything you want." And he fucking answered our questions for like 45 straight minutes, right? And he did something during his set that I thought was unique, which was there was something fell backstage in the middle of his set, made this huge booming sound, right? Mm-hmm. And he had one of those face lavs on for his whole set, right? That's funny because we were making fun of lav mics earlier. He had one of those face lavs. He goes like this into the lav. He goes, "Hold on a second. Hold on." And he took the face lav off, sat it on that stool, walked backstage, and obviously yelled at whoever dropped some heavy item. But you couldn't hear him because he wasn't on mic anymore. And he comes back out on stage, puts the lav back on, and 5 minutes later and goes, "Now, where was I?" Right? And I laughed out loud. And I still remember my dad going, "Shut up, shut the fuck up. You're going to mess him up." I'm like, "Dad, he's a comedian. That doesn't mess comedians up. When you laugh, it does not mess them up. He'll be fine." So afterwards, I said to Cosby, I'm curious about that move you did. You didn't let anybody see you get mad and yell at that guy. I said, "I am the king of losing my shit on stage, and everybody can tell. And it's been one of my biggest problems in my career, really, is my anger." And he actually told me to read a chapter in his book, right? He goes, "Don't buy the book, though." He goes, "Go to the library, take it off the shelf. The book's called Cosmetology." He goes, "This is the chapter. Read that chapter and it'll explain to you something." So I go to the library, I pull that book off like a day later, and I read the chapter, and there's a story in there. And I don't know, Dom, because I think this is even before your time. When
there was anything going on before my time?
Yeah, there was a club. He mentioned in this chapter, there was a club in Chicago called Mr. Rips that in the 60s, a lot of the singers and very rarely comedians would do. And he got booked there. I don't know how old he was. It was very early in Cosby's career. And he tells the story how he got introduced. The MC goes, this next comedian's a young up-and-comer from Philadelphia. You're going to see great things from this guy. give it up for Bill Cosby. And everybody claps, and Cosby goes on stage and bombs for 20 minutes. Comes back after the set, starts taking his suit off. And the guy who booked him's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I apologize that you got sold a bag of goods. I'm not at the level that the kind of guys you book here. And I'll try to get." Yeah, Bobby Collins. He goes,
"Hey, you hot shit."
Yeah. He goes, "I'll send you the money back if I can get it for the flight. And I really apologize." And the owner of the club goes, "Can you do me a favor? You were right. You did suck. You did bomb. But when you go back to the hotel, and when you go back to the hotel, could you tell Bill Cosby to come back for the second show tonight? Because that's who I hired. I don't know who you are, but I hired Bill Cosby." And he goes, "It kind of made sense to me what this guy was saying. Like, know how to be the person who's the funniest version of you, and learn how to do that and do that. Don't be the insecure fuck that you just were." Right. And he goes, "It made sense, but I still was doubting myself a little bit because he's a comedian." He goes, "The guy comes back, puts the suit back on, does the second show, and the MC goes, 'Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Bill Cosby.' And Cosby from the back goes, 'What about up and comer? You said in the first show I was an up and comer. Why am I not an up and comer now?' And everybody's laughing. And he goes, 'I go on stage, I fuck around for 20 minutes and kill and have a great set.'" And basically that was what he was trying. And it was like amazing. Like it was a pretty amazing advice. And I kind of have told other comedians that story before. And it was so weird to have that amazing story told by this comedy legend and then him become a psychopath like 5 years after that. But it's funny because Dom, your story's kind of the reverse of it. You riffed the first time on the Dangerfield, and it made him not want to hire you because you were just riffing, but he could tell you were funny. So it's like it's a confusing situation.
Well, you don't get it. You don't get the kind of the response I had that he actually wanted to see me again. I was very fortunate because it would change my life if I had to do that. You know.
Yeah, and what balls that took for you to just go fuck around and ad lib and shit on comedians. Like, did you used to do that a lot in the clubs back then?
No,
like,
no,
shit
I didn't
on
do
the
it
guys.
At all. No.
It just happened that night, and it just.
Yeah, you just.
Got
Steve,
mad. Yeah,
did you have managers and agents that were mad at you when you didn't do your set?
I don't remember that part.
Huh, that's interesting. Were you mad at yourself that you didn't do your set, or did you know?
I didn't really care. I didn't really care. Had I known how big it was or going to be, then I would have cared.
You didn't know the extent of it.
No, I didn't know it was going to just be. It was like a household name for a year or so. Everybody watched it.
Right.
Yeah, they always say that that's the key to comedy is to not give a shit, but it takes 10 to 15 years to look like you don't give a shit. And how many years in were you doing it when that Dangerfield opportunity came up?
Well, that was 1986 or 7, and I started in 1980.
Yeah, so it was pretty early, 6 years in. Yeah, 6 years.
I had done the Tonight Show, I think.
Were you headlining already, or it happened after that?
Yeah, I was headlining. I was.
Did you start stand up in Philly, or did you start in California?
I really started in New York.
New York.
I was in college in Florida, and I started doing plays, and I got a kick out of them, so I did more of that. And I liked doing improv, you know. So I did improv down there. We were very lucky. We were the government property to make kids laugh. We went around this. We were stupid and funny. And I got an equity card for that. Oh. So that made the equity stage union. So when I went up to New York, I could get SAG and AFTRA. So that made that easier. So.
Nice.
So when did you start coming back to Philadelphia and headlining and drawing at all those clubs?
I was a teacher for fourth grade, and that was a lot of fun. But I knew that I couldn't be a teacher because you have to go to bed early. You know, and I fucking hated that. So I'm serious. I'm not going to find. I hear Monday Night Football downstairs. My grandmother can watch it, but I can't. Fuck her.
Yeah.
Fucking cunt.
I'm trying to think of the Philly clubs like in the late 80s. Like the Comedy Works was where I started open mic. So you must have done that. What was the best comedy club like in the hot, you know, in your heyday in Philadelphia?
I don't know. I worked at the Bananas. We used to call it Banana 2, but Banana 3. It was so stupid, but
Barney Weiss,
and that was the Banana. Then there was Clay Erie or something like that.
Harry Comedy Factory Outlet. Yeah, that was a cool spot.
Yeah, Philly was really hot then for stand up. You know.
When did the Laugh House open?
It opened. I don't know. It had like 3 or 4 owners. That was really.
Yeah,
really
that was called David Brenner's before it was.
Yeah, he said, "Dave, what should we call this place?" And I goes, "I don't know, about mine." You know, but I got to go because I want to see that end. But it was great having you, man, and come back again. I love this comedy talk.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Pleasure meeting you again.
I'm sorry about Steve.
Yo, Dom, weird. Hey, Dom, hey. Yo, Dom.